Hey Jackie, what's going on? Back here on the tripod once again. We're going to be doing our Hyperextension or Hyperflexion tape job. In this case, I will be using the Hyperextension. A few different variations of this tape job. My basketball athlete Tyler here does not like a lot of bulk, so we're going to be using the Hypafix and Lugo tape variation of this tape job. But I'll mention to my athlete the two other ones once we get there, that he could choose if he doesn't actually like it. So what position do you play, Tyler?
Point guard.
Point guard. Can you tell me how you hurt your wrist?
Shot a three, hit it, of course.
Yeah.
Got fouled
of course.
And just fell back and just landed on it.
Okay,
Yeah.
so a little bit like a foosh hyperextension injury. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to limit that pain. So a couple things before we tape you. Have you ever been taped or sprayed before?
Yeah.
Are you allergic to any tapes or sprays?
Nope.
Good. I'm going to check. It's your right side, correct?
Yeah, that's my right.
Okay. So we're going to check the area for decap BTLS before we start. Is it okay if we touch you?
Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to look on top, behind, nothing along the wrist that I would need to manage beforehand. So that's good. So if I had spray, I would take spray and I would spray on the anterior portion of that forearm, because our Hypafix and Luco is going to be going here just above the wrist joint. And it doesn't matter how high you go, just high enough where you can pull that leverage to reduce the hyperextension. So maybe about, I actually pre-measured my Hypafix here, and we sprayed already. So just above the wrist joint, and then it goes to about the tapering of the forearm. So that's how long my Hypafix is going to be. And then my Luco is going to be a little bit shorter, but we'll get to that. So we'll go ahead and start the first part, the Hypafix. There. And you just really want to heat mold this to the skin. Doesn't matter if there's wrinkles here as much. You just want to get it to the skin so that Luco tape is going to be effective. So before we start with our Luco tape, we really want to find out where its painful range is. So can you just go into your painful range for me? Right there. So we're going to bring them back about 10 15 degrees roughly, just so we're limiting the painful range. But he can also let us know. So we're measuring out our strip of Luco. We want it to be just a little bit shorter than the Hypafix, just because Luco on the skin actually breaks it down and it's tough on the skin, especially with spray, which I've done already. So we don't want to put that directly on the skin. So I actually measured a perfect strip of Luco. So we're going to lay that down. And again, just one more time, go into your painful range. So we're going to just come out of it about 10-15 degrees. And we're going to pull that. And we're going to heat mold that down. And just to test its effectiveness, can you go ahead and do your painful range? Does that limit you?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So one more thing before I move on from this. In this case, in most tape jobs, I would recheck PMS, but the reason why I did not is because we're not actually going around the wrist or around the hand, so we wouldn't be impeding any circulation. For good practice, I probably should have done PMS before and after, but in this case I didn't, and that's why I didn't. So now that we've got our tape job, we can go ahead and we can test how effective it is. And maybe I'll give him a couple of variations after we test it out. If he doesn't like it, I'll tell him what else we could do for him. So can I get you up?
Yep.
So we're just going to start with some single planar motions. You can use them wrist flexion, wrist extension, ulnar and lateral deviate. Any pain with that at all?
Nope.
Nothing? Okay, your range looks good on both sides. Now we're going to get you mimicking your shooting action. So just slow, go ahead and shoot a couple of shots. Any pain with that?
No.
So now we're going to get him to do some passing. So mimic some passing in the front, passing overhead, maybe some hook shots. He does a lot of hook shots. That's kind of his signature move. So now we're going to get him into his gear. So he's going to put all his gear. We're going to go on the court. And then we're going to start slow to kind of a quicker pace with some shooting. So we'll start with some layups, then maybe some free throws, maybe some 3 points. Again, Half-court shots, excellent at half-court shots. I know, Jackie, you wanted to see the half-court shots in the last set of competencies, but unfortunately, we're not on a court. Even though we're imagining we are, we're not, so that can happen. So we'll progress the speed and the distance with all his shots and his passes. So make some passes to teammates, some bounce passes, some overhead passes, things like that, and just watch for any pain like that. And we can bring the coach out and see if he likes Tyler's progressions through all these drills, and then we can go into maybe some one-on-one scenarios, and eventually moving him into some mock scrimmages in practice against teammates and such, with the coach watching, of course. We don't need to fill this tape job in, and you do wear a shooting sleeve, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is not something we need to fill in just because of the tape. If you'd rather something different, another variation of this would be to use zinc, and we can create sort of a fan. It's a little more bulky, so I don't think you'd like it. Or we can do a wrist strap, which is actually quite popular. It's not quite for limitation, it's more of like a peace of mind kind of thing. But it does limit, but in my opinion, not as well as this one or the zinc. But I think we'll try this one for the game, and we'll see how it goes, all right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we've been through all our steps to return to play, and myself and the coach and Tyler, he's mentally ready. So you don't want an athlete that's not mentally ready to go back into play. They won't be confident if they try to recreate the injury, which we'll do in a second here. He's not going to want to perform to his full capabilities, which is pretty good because he likes the full court shots. So last thing, we would get him to recreate that foosh. So we'd get him to mimic a shooting and then kind of go back slowly and fall in kind of that hyperextension position, just to test it. That'd be the last step. So we're good to go here, Jackie. See you later.